So the talents are now 6 tiers. Every 15 levels you get a chance at 3 talents that all specializations have access to. So starting level 15 you have these 3 here. Tireless Pursuit, I just kind of want to say right now, is sort of a throwaway ability. It's basically an extra dash, which, to be honest, if you choose Disentanglement, which I really think every PvP kitty should choose, you're not going to need this. There's just really no need for it. Not at the expense of the other talents. Often these things are kind of cool, but compared to the other talents you have access to, there's just no discussion about it. You just don't want that at all. So the two we're really deciding between is Feline Swiftness, which is the passive increase we got at the top tier talent of our current talent system. In this version, it increases 20% instead of 30%, and then also boosts your run speed by 10%. So that's kind of, it's been tweaked a little bit, which I think is kind of good. But, so you have that, or Displacer Beast. And once you see Displacer Beast, it's kind of like hands down, this one has to win. I mean, I love the run speed increase passively, but Displacer Beast is super, super awesome. It's basically Vanish, Cloak of Shadows, and Blink, all put into one. Different from Blink, it transports you in a random direction instead of directly in front of you, so I imagine there's going to be a lot of bugging out with this one. It purges you of all periodic damage effects. So that's not so different from like Cloak of Shadows, that won't leave up bleeds. At least that's what it sounds like in the tooltip. Whereas Cloak of Shadow gets rid of harmful magic effects, this will get rid of all periodic damage effects, so that includes bleeds. And then it pops you into stealth for 10 seconds. So that's pretty freaking awesome. And 3-minute cooldown is quite reasonable. Quite reasonable. So this is definitely the PvP ability to choose, in my opinion. At level 30, we have a few things. Cenarian Ward, kind of like Tireless Pursuit, is sort of a non-choice for PvP kitties. I imagine it'd be a good addition to a resto repertoire, but it just doesn't make sense to me at all for PvP feral. Renewal is a really nice big heal that you can use in all shapeshift forms, which is sweet, and it's only a 2-minute cooldown. So that's a real big heal, and that would be really good if you didn't have to choose over Nature Swiftness. I think Nature Swiftness is the choice to pick here. It's pretty much predatory strikes, but you can use it in any forms, and when you activate this, the healing and duration of that particular spell is increased 50%, which is huge. That's a big deal. I'd be interested to see if it affects Cyclone, or Roots, or any of our CC abilities by an additional 50%, because if we had like an 8 second, or what, like a 9 second, I guess, a 9 second Cyclone instead of a 6 when we use this, that would be pretty fucking awesome. That would be really awesome. And again, it's on a 3-minute cooldown, which is not too long. So that's definitely, for me, the one to take. So at level 45, I talked about Fairy Swarm already. So I'm pretty much looking at these two talents. Mass Entanglement looks kind of cool at first glance, but like most roots, the effect will be interrupted with damage. And you can't cast it in cat or bear form, so it's basically a caster form only ability, which is really unfortunate. It also has a 1-minute cooldown and a 2-second cast time, so I think that's kind of, that really is like too many marks against it. It's just not worth taking. Now Typhoon, on the other hand, is a 20-second cooldown, instant cast, and has a 30-yard range in front of you. So this is going to be pretty awesome. It also dazes your targets. So whether you want to like just blow people away from you, blow them off the lumber mill, whatever, it's great for that. But it could also be used if you need to facilitate a charge for yourself. If you need to blow people back so you can charge at them and free ravage, why the hell not? I think it would work great for that too. So for this tier, Typhoon is definitely the one I want to take. So looking at tier 60, or the 4th tier, level 60 rather, we've got, well, first of all, we've got sort of a throwaway ability here, Force of Nature. Unless you're Boomkin and you don't get anything like this, and you've always wanted, you've always wanted to have treants, I just really don't see any use for this in PvP, especially not as a kitty. So the two abilities we're really going to be talking about are Incarnation, which is new, and then Wild Charge, which is sort of an expanded version of Feral Charge, where every different shapeshift gets a particular type of charge ability with different things attached to it. So Incarnation, this is brand new, and what it does is give you a superior shapeshifting form, which depends on your specialization. It lasts for 30 seconds. one nice thing is you can go in and out of this form during the duration without canceling effect. But what we get for Feral, it looks pretty awesome from the start, but I think thinking about what that really means for us, it's not quite as good as it sounds, in my opinion. So for Feral, we get King in the Jungle, which means that we get an improved cat form that allows us to use abilities which normally require stealth. So let's think about what abilities normally require stealth. Basically, Pounce and Ravage, I think, are the only two. And I almost never Ravage. If I have Feral Charge and Stampede proc, I'll never Ravage the regular way, stealth behind my target. It's just an energy waste. And not when I have the opportunity to Pounce as my opener too. So in pouncing, being able to pounce multiple times in combat sounds like it could be great, but I think you're only going to get a real limited use out of it. Because Pounce will go on DR real fast, and it's a pretty short stun anyway, so if you're down to like a second and a half stun, it's almost not worth it. And the ability to prowl in combat also sounds really good at face value, but in my experience, by the time I'm in combat and I would want to use this ability, I usually have some kind of dot, some bleed, or some disease on me that's ticking away. And going into Prowl in combat is going to be kind of pointless, except to momentarily make my enemies lose me as a target. They'll have to retarget me. So for a 3-minute cooldown, I kind of feel like this is not, in actuality, maybe not as awesome as it seems. I don't know. I'd kind of be interested in what you guys have to think about it. The other choice we have is Wild Charge. So if we don't take this, we won't have Feral Charge at all in any bear or cat. But in addition to that, we pretty much get the regular bear and cat form charge. We also get one for each of our other shapeshifts, and also caster form. The travel form one I think is really cool. You leap forward 20 yards, and then you also take 20% reduced damage for 10 seconds, so that's pretty sweet. Flight form, you get an increase in speed. Aquatic form, increase in speed, and also that similar damage reduction. It doesn't say anything here about the cat form or bear form range. I imagine it's probably 20 to 25 yards like it is now. And it also doesn't say the cooldown. So I'm kind of curious if this is going to be like an instant no cooldown ability, because that would be fucking sweet. If that's the case, this is hands down the ability to take by far, because there's so much utility. You have cat and bear form, which do what they do now. And I mean, honestly, for PvP, I really can't live without the Feral Charge. It's just it's so important as a melee class to have that distance closer that I really just don't think you can give it up. And if you get these extra abilities for your different shapeshifts, that's all the better. So definitely Wild Charge is the one to take for this tier. At level 75, these are kind of our CC abilities that we get to choose from, and there's a couple different ones. The first one I want to look at is Bear Hug. This has a 1-minute cooldown. It requires bear form, or rather it activates bear form, and you get to stun one target for 3 seconds and cause damage. It's limited in that, again, you will be put into bear form, but you also can't move or do anything else while this is occurring. So it's sort of a stationary active stun. You have to be actively participating in the stun for it to be maintained. So it's kind of weird, and I don't really see the use for it in PvP, not as Feral anyway. Ursul's Vortex is kind of cool. It's on a 30-second cooldown, and it's pretty much the opposite of Typhoon. It sucks in all enemies within 15 yards, and you can use it in any form. Now it says it lasts for 15 seconds, so I wonder if that means, like, say you've got 2 people and you suck them in, and then they try to leave. Do they just keep getting re-sucked in as long as you have Ursul's Vortex active? I kind of wonder what exactly that means. This one looks pretty cool, in my opinion. I think it's definitely intended to be a tanking talent, but I think it's also got some really good uses in PvP, particularly if somebody's fleeing from you. The other one I think is really worth considering is Demoralizing Roar. What it does is it disorients all enemies within 10 yards, for 4 seconds. It activates bear form, but that's pretty powerful to disorient all of your enemies for 4 seconds within 10 yards. That's pretty powerful, particularly if you need, you kind of just you need a break, like just that break to get away, this would be definitely the one to use. It has a 30-second cooldown compared to the, well, 30-second cooldown for Ursol's Vortex. So I'm kind of torn between these two. I'm more inclined to go for the Demoralizing Roar because it will give me an AoE CC, or AoE stun rather, and that's really something that I can see using a lot in PvP. But on the other hand, Ursol's Vortex would be really great for like sucking down a healer, say in Blade's Edge Arena, sucking them off of the bridge or something like that. I mean, there are a lot of uses for this too. It's kind of a tough choice. I'm probably going to start out going with Demoralizing Roar, although I will probably try Ursol's Vortex as well. But for now, I'm going to choose Demoralizing Roar. I think they really both have a lot of utility, so either one would be good to use. Now at level 90, the first two talents are kind of weird to me. They're both talents that they reward you with spell casting, with spell power basically, or increased spell damage or what have you, or increased intellect in this case of Heart of the Wild, for your feral ability. So I see what they're trying to do, but it's one of those things where it's just like, no, you kind of don't need that. Particularly ferals, you already have plus 100% of agility as spell power. This one would be good for the armor in bear form, but I don't think it's as useful as this entanglement. Now I don't know if you guys have seen this yet at the bottom of the tier, but this is that thing that we've been wanting forever, the shifting out of roots that we had forever and ever, and they took it away. So I definitely fucking want this back. I definitely want this. I mean, even if these were awesome, I'd probably still take this because it's so important for our mobility in PvP. It's just so important. And what's more is that every 30 seconds you have a chance, or you'll be able to heal yourself by shifting 20% of your maximum health. So if you're, that's like 30k, probably 30k HP, that's a huge heal. And you get it passively every time you shift, no more than every 30 seconds anyway. So that's really huge. That's definitely the one to take. I mean, this one, they're just kind of odd. I just don't see, they're meant to give you more utility in different, in spellcasting forms, or spellcaster form versus feral form, or versus your other forms, but I really don't see how they compare to entanglement. I mean, even Broomkins, I think, would want this over any of the other two talents. It just has so much more utility. So anyway, that's kind of my take on the talents and the new specializations that we're going to be getting in the next expansion. I'd be really interested in what you guys think. I'm sorry I talked for so long. Hopefully you don't get too bored watching this, but let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.